We're live. We're rolling. What's this number? What podcast is this?
5. We've
So
made it to 5.
the first three was like me and you just bullshitting, right?
True. True.
And then we had the Professor Mike Wines.
The professor. Yep.
Which Jason knows Mike. Jason knows Mike well. The Professor. And now we've got Jason Brunson. So a little intro. Jason is the owner, one of the owners of Athletes Arena. It's a sports training center in Columbia, South Carolina. They also have recently owned Carolina CrossFit. And so the background on this is this. So 2005, I actually started Athletes Arena, right? I honestly, like, I was, shoot, how old was I when I started pushing the name brand Athletes Arena.
So you were like 40 then, right around
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I look really good for 55. And TRT, baby, all day. But in 2005, I started Athletes Arena, and it was a sports training place in Irmo. So, Irmo, South Carolina. And really, it was the first place that really, in 2002, when I started doing training, was really the first place that started doing athlete training specific. So then I brought on a guy named Shane Miller in like 2009. And then in 2015, I moved town and Jason took over. So he's basically, and because I don't know if anybody here has ever built something from scratch, right? Like when it's just you in a room and you're trying to train people. When you do something like that, like even when you step away from it, like your heart and soul's poured into that, right? So you wanted to keep going. So Jason, I think I connected with Jason. You were working with some people at a Gold's Gym or involved in sports training that way. Wasn't that how that happened? Somebody said something. You need to meet Jason Brunson. He's at Gold's Gym, but he shouldn't be there. He should be with you guys. Somebody said something like that.
Yeah, I was kind of exiting the school scene at Heathwood Hall, kind of going between the two. And I started getting a few athletes from other schools, so it's kind of a conflict of interest type thing, and kind of ended the school thing and started doing on my own. And I think you and Rob reached out to me to sell me a bracelet and some crazy stuff like that. And that's how it all started.
Yeah. And then you started coming in, and then like the thing about this industry is people think like you just open up a gym and start working with people, and all of a sudden all these people are going to train with you. And what Jason would do is come in and hang out and started meeting athletes, developing relationships. That's one thing Jason's always been good at. If anybody wants an education in how to develop relationships to grow with a gym business, I mean, talk to Jason, because this dude's hustling relationships 24/7 all day long. So when I moved, Jason took over, and I'm not too proud to say, like, since 2015, it's exploded, hasn't it? Like, that gym industry's exploded. Like, I mean, you guys are doing big numbers there with CrossFit, with sports training, 2 places to do training athletes. I mean, you guys have it going on. I mean, you guys now got trainers underneath you. I mean, do you have any clue how many athletes are coming through there daily or weekly?
I have no idea. We lost track. I know y'all used to do a good job of keeping the numbers of just the athletes that were going on to college. We would train, but I have no clue anymore. I don't even know how you back up and track that at this point. But
so in 2012, we had over 120 athletes that had trained with us that have gone from a high school to a college environment to play their sport. Over 120. I think I quit because we had flags of all the places they went, and we literally ran out of places to put flags, right? So, and so I imagine it's a ridiculous number now. Like, it's a ridiculous number now. So
with the way college sports have exploded at these small schools now, I bet it's close to 500. I mean, we're training. You got these 40-man baseball rosters, and when it's become small colleges become a business in sports. So
sure,
it's only driven our number up and our industry, the sports performance industry, because unfortunately it's come and played to small colleges now turned to daddy ball somewhat. So if they can pay the that first semester of tuition, then you're on the team until you get cut at Christmas.
Until you get cut at Christmas. So, and pro baseball training is alive and well at Athletes Arena, right? I mean, that's still popping off.
Doing great. It's doing
Yeah.
good.
And we've always been big, and you guys have always been big in the baseball environment. So one of the reasons for this podcast too is we're launching a group, Arena Life Fitness and Nutrition, Fitness and Performance group, and it's a Facebook group. And one of the things that we've always talked about is, and part of the relationship side of this is, Athletes Arena has become, I think early on when I was involved with it, what we struggled because people saw Athletes Arena as competition to what they were doing in their high school. Like, they're doing strength conditioning in the high school. Why are you going to Athletes Arena? And there was some beef that kind of developed early on.
With like coaches and stuff?
Oh yeah, dude. Coaches didn't like it. Kids were coming to us, and maybe they didn't work as much at the high school, and it really is an ego play. It really became a big ego play, right? No, right? But what we became to see ourselves as was more like tutors. Like, you got your math teacher. They have to go to math. We did some tutoring on the side. Jason, talk to us a little bit about, and I would like to make this for maybe the new person who wants to start training athletes that listening to this in Portland, Oregon, right?
Yeah.
If somebody came to you, I mean, there's not a lot of people that have been successful like this company has been successful at. I mean, we've seen, 4 or 5 sports training places come to Columbia and leave.
Yeah.
Because they don't realize it's hard, right?
It's work.
It's work, right? They don't realize that, like, it's a grind to start your own business. They don't realize that, like, you're not going to start training Deion Sanders day one in 2001, right? Then they all think that. If you're a dude in Portland, Oregon, and you like, I want to train athletes, give us like 2 or 3 things that you'd be like, you have to do A, B, C, and D. And I'm not talking about like going to seminars, getting your degree, reading books. I'm talking like on the daily hustle. If you want to be in the sports performance training business of athletes, what do they need to do?
The first thing you had to do is check your ego at the door and leave it
Sure.
there. Understand that it may be, you may get a chance to work with an 8-year-old gymnast or a 12-year-old baseball player, and that 12-year-old baseball player or gymnast can lead to 9 more kids. And that's that's the first thing you have to do, is that you're not working with college athletes. If you can take 10 kids that ride the bench and put them on the field because of what y'all worked on, man, you're way more successful than some college strength and conditioning coach. The second thing is identify your people in the community. I think that's one of my strongest points is what I do is I try to identify the dad, identify the hairdressers who's going to talk to all the moms, identify other people in the service industry, and continuously build your network around you of other service industry members that do personal services like that. And the third one is just relentless. You got to be relentless. You got to realize that those first couple of years, and if you're going into a place and you're asking what your salary is going to be, you're probably in the wrong profession.
Yeah.
And that's usually where the interview stops with me. What am I going to make? Well, we probably need to move on to the next dude or next gal.
Yeah, what are you bringing in? Who do you know? How many athletes you bringing to the table? How many personal client training you bringing to the table?
And also find somebody who's really successful and make sure you mentor them. I could care less about education. I want to know who you mentored under. You got to have the education, you do, or you won't succeed. But I want to know who you mentored under. I want to know who brought you up, so to say.
Sure. Well, there's a famous story I tell people all the time, and Shane isn't on this, but Shane Miller to me is probably, I've told people all the time, Shane Miller, I started the place. Shane Miller's a better trainer than I. Like, I got no problem saying that. Shane Miller, as far as like somebody who's daily relentlessly spends time in their craft and goes outside and above and beyond to be educated in their craft, is better than I am at that process, right? I think I had more clients when we started because I was in Columbia for 15 years, right? Just a numbers game. But as far as like being a coach and a trainer and being dedicated to knowing their craft, he was better than I was. I have a formal education in this industry, exercise science degree, got the certifications, got all of it. Shane Miller was an electrician when I met him. An electrician when I met him, right? I mean, Ray can do things on Facebook I've never seen anybody doing the marketing side, and people are like, oh, he's got to be this, got to be that. No, he's a cop for 20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was a cop for 20 years, right?
No one's ever taught me any of that stuff.
No one's ever. It's just, how do you sell stuff, right? Well, you screw up 50 times, and the 51st time you learn, right? And Shane, we had this group coming and visiting us, and it was through Sorinex exercise equipment. And they had this big-time PhD there. Like, this guy was presenting on something at the national conference at the highest level, PhD, and it was about and people are in this industry will understand it's about it was about velocity of the bar, and this piece of equipment that uses to measure velocity. So this is like Shane Miller's like 2.5 years into it, right? And this guy's like a PhD, well-known, national strength coach, staff of the year. I mean, balling dudes, man. If you're in the industry, you know all their names, right? And Shane's reading through a study, and he stops, and he goes, hey, just a question. You're telling people to move the bar really fast, but the intention of the lift is like, he says, he came up with some words that's like, the intention of bar velocity is not the same here and here. And if you're in the room and you know the industry, like, you understand what he said. You're like, you know, I know for some people listening to this, you're probably like, oh, you're speaking a whole different language. But just trust me, he said something very smart. And the guy stopped. And then his boss, who was the head strength coach at the school, stopped and goes, you should probably adjust that part of the research before you present at the national conference.
Wow.
Dude, and I wanted to stand up and be like,
slow clap him, right? Just
boom. Shane Miller, because I'm like, this dude's a PhD, electrician.
So, hey, this sounds like it's a lot like jiu-jitsu to me, as far as like, where did your coach learn? Well, who did he come up under? Like, yeah. And the people who just dedicate themselves to it 100%, doesn't matter if they're on parole or if they're, you know, or a boxer their whole life.
1,000,000%. I do not care. Like, dude, I stopped putting my certifications after my name because the people I respect in the industry don't have to, right? They don't have to. There are people that write for T Nation that are PhDs. There is a guy that writes for T Nation that got his degree in sociology. And he gets more because, dude, being right is being right. Yeah. I don't care if you're a PhD. Getting an athlete faster, you either got faster or you didn't. I don't care if you're a PhD in getting fast or if you're a dude that works at the grocery store that's well-read. I don't care. I do not care. Results are results in the fitness industry, in the sports performance industry. I do not care where you got your degree, where it came from, what it is. You're either good at your job or you're not. I do not care. In the beginning of this industry, I was impressed by people that were PhDs, that owned this, that owned that. I don't care about it anymore, man. I could care less where it came from. Partly because, Jason knows this, I'm bitter in this industry because there's so much trash in this industry. Just like in marketing, dude. Me and Ray have this conversation all the time. There are dudes out there coaching people how to build communities online that have never built a community. And that makes Ray want to stab his eyeballs out. Jason, you know people in this fitness industry that are out there trying to help people do stuff that have never helped anybody else do it in their life. They have no resume. They have no background. They have you can't say they've worked with these people or done anything. They just present well, right?
Absolutely.
And we know those people, man, and those people get on my nerves, and I can't stand them. So talk about this then, Jason. Like, if you're a mom and you're listening to this, because we're going to start doing more content. When your guys' page opens and our group opens, we're going to have some sports performance stuff in there. We'll have some fitness stuff in there. We'll have nutrition stuff in there. Your guys, again, we're going to give away free workout plans that I got to finish editing. We're gonna give away speed programs, how to get faster in the 60. We're giving all that stuff away, man. Like, we're giving that to the community in South Carolina and reaching out because it's value. Kids need it. But if you're that mom in Portland, Oregon, and you say, I want a speed trainer for my baseball guy, give us a few things that a mom because, dude, they can get taken for a ride. Me and Ray know people who paid $10,000 a month to coaches who are going to get them online that have wasted their money for 10 grand. That's a joke, right? And I'm starting to learn more about that industry so I can pick the bullshit out. Tell me, if you're a mom in Portland, Oregon, and you're saying, I want to find somebody for my kid to work with, what would that mom look for? They can't work with, but there's a dude that's down the street that's in a field working with some kids. What should that mom go ask that person, or what should they look for in that person if they're going to go coach their kid?
I usually get them to just, from our basis, say, ask your strength coach, local strength coach, because they're usually going to refer us. We've got such a good relationship at this point. But also, see if they're willing to give their product away for free. See if they're going to let their kid train for them for free and let you build that relationship through 1 or 2 sessions. I do it all the time. I give it's like they're skeptical. Hey, let him just jump in this group with us. And if my product doesn't sell itself, then it doesn't sell itself. I don't have that problem. It typically sells itself. But get him in there and see if they'll let that coach, if where his ego's at. If his ego's, he's got to have $1 for every minute he coaches, probably in it for the wrong reason. As far as like who's good and who's not good, the community is probably going to weed the not good out, I guess you'd say. I don't really know how to tell that, but the community is going to lead you to the right person. And there are some guys out there who I call, I guess, they're kind of road trainers that they set up at a field with a bunch of cones and a bunch of hurdles and maybe a bungee cord here and there. Majority of them are really, really bad, but there's 1 or 2 that are pretty good. It is. But are the majority of them bad? Yeah, because they're not sacrificing to put their overhead and all that kind of stuff. They're just popping up and wanting to train kids for $10 an hour, and they're kind of more ego driven. Usually former college athletes or something like that. But anyways, the community is usually going to weed out the bad over time. But see if the guy, the coaches, or even the females, willing to give away their product for free. See if they're willing to work a little bit to earn that relationship.
Yeah. You guys now have a large percentage of general fitness people, right? Like, it's not just all athletes anymore, right?
Yeah, I feel like we've got a little bit for everyone in the family. I've got more 70-year-old clients, 70, than I've ever had. I've got 8 70-year-old clients.
That's awesome.
Then in that same afternoon, I might have 8 8-year-olds in a youth speed and agility developmental class. That doesn't count even what we refer back and forth with our physical therapy partnership at Vertex. That's all ages. That's all health ranges. We got a little bit of everything for someone in the family right now.
So you guys literally could handle. I mean, you could come into Athletes Arena and be like, hey, it's Thanksgiving time when pro baseball guys are there, right? You could be an 8-year-old working out, a 70-year-old doing some stretching at the same time that like a professional baseball player's throwing BP.
Absolutely. That's what we had before you left. I remember seeing these little kids training and dropping their jaw because Michael Ross in there doing some mobility, and then they don't. So everybody knew who Michael Roth was then. I mean, he's the legend right here. And then you'd see just general clients over there getting them some work.
Yeah.
So a little bit of everything.
I remember having times where, CJ was in there, who pitched for the Cubs at the time, would be doing his dynamic warm-up with like a stay-at-home mom at the same time, because they're like, hey, just jump in with CJ, get a warm-up up. Right? People don't care about that kind of stuff, man. People don't care about that kind of stuff.
And we as owners, we create that, whether we recognize it or not.
Yeah.
And we as trainers, we create that environment and
that community.
I don't ever I tell people all the time, they're like, what do you do about the dad who pushes? the dad who pushes their kid to meet lasts maybe 2 sessions because it's a kid. I get more 15 to 18-year-olds asking their parents to come to Athletes Arena than anything else because their friends are doing it and their friends are having success.
Sure.
We created that culture of fun while also working.
So you're talking about sports environment, man. So one of the big things in sports environment is injured kids, right? One of the big things in sports environment is sports specialization, right? The baseball kid that tears that has Tommy Johns when he's 13 years old because he's played year-round baseball all the time, right? One of the conflicts that you always have owning a gym is, those coaches, those trash coaches that are shredding kids' arms, and I'm not afraid to say that anymore, are also the kids, sometimes the coaches that send you kids, right?
Yeah.
How do you manage the relationship where you want to strangle that coach, but he sends you people? That was always so hard for me in that industry because, I hated the coach for what he was doing to the kids.
Just overtraining, overworking? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, overtraining, overworking. Baseball kids don't need to throw year-round because they tear their arms. And, coaches are out there shredding kids. You see it in soccer and volleyball. You see it in all kinds of sports. But at Athletes Arena, they'll send you kids. So you want to keep that relationship, right? And I handled those situations very poorly early in my career because I just said stupid stuff to they'd be like, hey, what do you think about so-and-so coach? I'd be like, well, he's an idiot. That doesn't help anybody. Not at 40 years old, can be like, that was a bad idea. But how do you, Jason, now handle, the dad who's like, oh, my kid wants to play soccer, but I'm going to make him play baseball because I know he's going to be better. Well, just let the kid play soccer. We all know the answer. How do you manage, I guess, Jason, the question is, how do you manage misinformation in the industry but still maintain relationships?
I think one of the things that Athletes Arena is known for, though, is educating. And we try to educate, and it's not going to sink in. But if we just stay relentless in that education of the parent and the athlete, sometimes you're going to get the parents where they hold those kids accountable for what we say. Sometimes it's vice versa. The kids are going to hold themselves accountable. But we just have to be relentless in our education, and it's even adding the posters to the wall to where they see it when they're. I got that kind of from Coach Kurtz at AC Floor. He would add all these posters that seemed silly, but all it was really doing is reestablishing what he was always saying. So when the kids were walking around, he'd always have just hydration posters or sleep posters or nutritional posters. And some of it was just magazine articles, but it backed up what his pitch was.
Sure.
But I always like that because it's just taking words out of his mouth and they're seeing it again, they're reading it again. You're not going to save all of them. You're not. There's not a chance to save all of them. But I do love the fact that the term sports specific is dying.
Sure.
Because I tell them all the time that I train athletes to be better athletes. I'm not training them for their sport. When they go and they leave here and they go pick up the ball with their coach, they'll train for their sport. But we train athletes to be better athletes.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you some stuff there too. So when you're dealing with kids, just for general purposes, a teenager, high school kid comes in and you're training him to be a better athlete, right? Is that like a total fitness thing? Are you getting into, like, you just mentioned sleep and nutrition. Mm-hmm. Are you getting into that with them? Or are you just like, okay, this is what we're doing physically? Or like, is it the whole thing? Like, how do you approach that with kids?
We have nutritionists at both locations, sport to do that, and they'll do sit down one-on-ones. But as a coach, you're always going to want to continuously give them knowledge. So we're always talking about sleep, whether it's through your social media, whether it's in person, we're going to talk about that. But then you also sometimes just have to sit them all down and get on the board a little bit, while they're there. But the nutrition is a whole different product. If you sit down with a coach, you get all your data, you sit down, we got different tiers of that. But you're still, as a coach, even if they don't do that program, you're still going to be educating them. You might not have the formal layout, but you're still going to continuously educate. And I say sports specific is about that is definitely dying, but I just had 2 guys walk in brand new today, a 6'8" basketball player who's just got recently offered by USC, and then a 6'10" basketball player. First 2 times I've ever trained them. First thing we do is take their shoes off and work on ankle mobility. That is sport specific, because their ankles are locked down from wearing high top shoes all basketball season. They can barely bend at the ankle, and that's a huge prime mover in what we want to do as athletes. So that's something you learn over the years of being a strength and conditioning coach. You know, most guys are going to come in there and see a basketball player. Let's put him on the Vertimax and jump. Hell no, that's the last thing we're doing. We might get into that 8 weeks down the road. We're going to work on hip strength. We're going to work on ankle mobility, and we're going to make sure we're getting rid of all those things that the sport brought. We're usually trying to get rid of what the sport brings on your body to just make you a better athlete. Baseball players, basketball players, football players are a little different. You know, you just it's all a little bit different. They're still sport specific, but the term is dying in the community, which is great.
Well, your sport specific is more like fixing why their body's jacked up from the sport they do more than preparing for it, it seems like.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Just like
you'll see that in like jiu-jitsu guys, right? Like you'll get jiu-jitsu guys where the sport itself breaks you, right? We all know that, right? The sport itself is hard on you. So you put them in a weightlifting program to combat, I mean, just the same thing you do, right? You're in a weightlifting program to combat all the garbage that the sport puts on you, right?
I thought it was so I could cheat and pull people into moves that I wouldn't have technically.
I tell you that you're going to be strong so you can bully every move without having to technically be good.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Perfect. That's what I thought.
But as like a golfer who swings over and over and over and over and over again, well, you wouldn't bring him into a thing and make him do all rotation exercises in your sports training. You're just going to break his body even more. So that's kind of what sports specific training is. There's sports simulation that's going away, and then training to combat the negatives of your sport to keep you on the field. That's kind of what the goal always has been. I think Athletes Arena, one thing they've done probably the best as a company is working with orthopedics and physical therapists with athletes to help them get back on the field after an injury. That's probably one of the – I think that's where they've definitely separated themselves from everybody in the community, is that you can really tie into a parent's heartstrings when you can say, we're going to make sure little Julie who tore her ACL, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Right.
Right. And that's still a big part of it, Jason, isn't it? I mean, especially in baseball, right?
Absolutely. Think about your 13-year-old soccer player, female soccer player.
Yeah.
Who's been banged up with every injury. I mean, it's like a mass unit after a soccer game if you ever go watch a bunch of 13-year-old girls soccer players.
My daughter has had 2 knee surgeries from soccer. She had MCL, then ACL. Year after the next, and blew it out because she played from 8 years old and that happened when she was 16 and 17.
Yeah.
Jacked up everything for her.
Yeah. When she played, how many other girls also had knee injuries, do you think?
Oh, I've seen probably 3 girls get at least an MCL done in the years that she's played.
Yeah, and that's typical. Yeah, that's typical. Every parent's seen that in soccer, you know. So I think I'd like to take all this information and kind of, as we launch the group, I think
you look like you're in a movie theater. For those of you watching the video,
it's so
what happened
dark.
to your lights there, Josh?
I don't know.
I have to make fun of him during every podcast, or it's just not a real podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm waiting for him to put the little flashlight under his face and like tell scary stories next.
I thought about it.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So one thing I'd like to do with this is lead into the group. I'm really excited about the group. We've been working on putting the group together, the Facebook group, because I think when you've been tied in this industry for so long, you forget what people don't know. Right? Like, it's kind of like you calling up somebody and be like, hey, you need to produce content. Talk to you tomorrow. They're like, what's content?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Where do I put it? Hey, I need a Facebook video. What? Right?
Yeah.
Because we're so used to doing it every day, we know what that means. But I think the Facebook group that we're going to do with Athletes Arena is going to be so important because you're going to be able to, one, we're going to reach a boatload of people. And two, I think we'd be surprised what general population don't know about fitness and training.
They don't know anything about it. You guys have a different perspective because you're walking in with people who have already made a decision to walk in that door, whether it's kids or an adult. Like, they're already so far beyond what a general person is. The people that even make it to you guys, you experts, they're way ahead of everybody else. You see it in that group now. I mean, it's like, and even with my questions, dude, and I've trained in and out of sports my whole life, but people don't know this stuff. Like, really, like, I knew about lifting, but I didn't know anything about nutrition, sleep, any of the other things that go on, lifting correctly, none of those things. So regular people don't know this stuff. They really don't. The community that we're going to kick off, it is like the most powerful thing. I think it's the most sticky thing. And, if you're listening to this and you have a gym or a fitness business or something and you don't have a community yet, like, you're crazy. Because this is what will make everyone show up and be more of a family at the end of the day. So.
Sure. I think it's going to give Athletes Arena a voice to reach out to the people, because there might be some, dude, Jason, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. I've learned this in a group. You are blown away. I've had people go in our group, dude, and it's mostly nutrition like that. Our Phenom group is mostly a nutrition group. We don't touch that much on sports performance. But I've had people come into the group and be like, hey, are potatoes a good source of protein? And I'm like, who are you just born? I'm telling you, you're going to have people come into the Athletes Arena group and be like, hey, why shouldn't my kid throw baseball year round?
But you also have the other extreme completely, the scared people. We were talking about that in the group today. You have hey, is the potato protein? And then you have but if I drink one diet soda, I'm going to die, right? Like,
I'm completely oblivious to the hundreds of thousands of people out there who are really hungry but scared. They're really hungry for knowledge and to be better, but they're sitting in their living room because they're too scared to ask or too scared to walk into a gym. And there's a huge population out there that we need to reach. And whether and I think you start that with fitness. You don't really start that with sports performance. That's a fitness-based approach. But I know it's out there, but I'm so stuck in my world of training athletes and my population that, it's getting to where I need to talk to those people. I need to be in front of those people to help them. We don't get in this industry because we really want to be rich. We get it because we ultimately care, and got to get back to caring and reaching out to that population. That's hungry.
I think you're going to find out, dude, that group is going to that the community is going to bring a whole group of different people from an education standpoint. They're going to reach out to you guys for unbelievable knowledge that you don't realize people need.
All the time. I get the dumbest question. I'm like, I read my phone. I was like, why in the hell are they asking me that? And I'm like, and finally I had to step back. Sometimes they're asking me because they trust me.
Sure.
They trust us.
It's a really good point.
It's they ask you because you trust. They trust you.
Yeah.
And
that's a lot of power too. That's a lot of power to have someone's trust.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. No, that's and those interesting, the psychology of starting a community. When you start a community, even online, or just open up a business, you could be nobody and have $1 million and open up a sports training business. And because you own it, people will assume you know.
100%.
That's almost the scary part too, right?
That's like the old fake black belts back in the day, like with a gym, like with the school. They're fake black belt.
Yeah, a big old fake black belt. You assume he's a black belt. You assume he knows, and they don't, right? Which is really the scariest part in this industry, and why the strength and conditioning community really why I've had a hard time being a part of certain groups is because there's no accountability, right? I wouldn't mind to have this group that we start having some accountability. Like, hey, let's hold people to a certain higher standard if you're going to start working with kids and training athletes. Like, let's hold them to a standard. Let's not just be cool with them because you knew him 5 years ago and you're buddies and, he dated a girl, and you think he's cool and you had a beer with him one day, right? Like, I don't care, right? But I think this group is going to open up a boatload of people for you guys. I think people are going to ask some crazy questions. I think they're going to see you. They're going to interact with you, and just your knowledge alone, you're going to separate yourself from so many people as an expert, and that might bring people into the gym, but it might open some opportunities for you as well. So, I think that's good. We covered a lot. I think we're going to push this content out, start the group, bring some people into it. And I'm excited for it, mostly because I value the information you guys have. That's why I wanted to start this group with you guys in the first place, is I value it. People need to know it. And I think it can help a ton of people. Our group still, the PhnmBrand group, even though I don't think we've given a lot of information, it's still amazing to people that come in and say, I didn't even know that.
Yep.
Right?
What's fun is what springs up inside these communities too. Like, other people involved in your business will present themselves as experts and start answering questions, and like that community thing takes off, and you'll wake up and see a question that popped up in the group, and 2 other people have answered it, right? And it's like the community helping the community, and that's just the piece. Like you said, like the people who are scared to get off the couch and take a step, they're not scared to lurk around online and ask questions or read or learn. So what's kind of cool, like even working with Josh and now with you, is like the marketing side. For my side, now I get to go out and take you guys as expert stuff and put it in front of the regular people, because I can get it in front of those people that you want to talk to. So it's going to be a fun little mixture here, but I'm excited for what you have going. I think your group's going to be awesome. The new community is going to be awesome. I think the programs you're giving out for free are awesome. So we're stoked, and we'll pop it in the show notes here when we're done. Like once I get that launched, I'm hoping within a week from this publish, it'll be live, and then we'll just pop it in the show notes. So if you're listening to this and it's not in the notes yet, it will be. So check back.
And people will be we'll push people into that group. You can go to athletesarena.com. You can find Athletes Arena on Facebook, right? If people want to find you, can people connect with you directly, Jason? Are you cool with that, or would you just rather have them go to?
Yeah, I usually connect with parents through Facebook and athletes through Instagram. It's real easy to keep those 2 things separated. So I can keep those 2 populations separated.
Yeah.
See, and that's marketing proof that I'm not full of shit, Josh. Under 30 is not on Facebook. They're only on Insta. Just saying. So,
Jason, what did you say that you guys were getting a bunch of traffic? You said the same thing, haven't you, Jason? Like you're finding parents, the people that pay the bills are on Facebook, but the people that come to the gym are on Instagram.
Yeah, it's a game of chase. This is what I tell people. I talked to the guy that was trying to sell me a bunch of marketing today. I said, I want to know what y'all are doing with Snapchat, because that's going to be the next mainstream thing for me when it comes to training athletes. It was all Facebook. Kids wanted their parents looking, so they ran to Instagram. Now all their parents are running to Instagram, so they're running to Snapchat. So I was like, what's
they need to up their ads game. They suck for marketing.
That's what the same guy said to me today. He said that they can't hold their ad company, so it's not really much they can do about it. But my thing is, it's just a game of chase. Kids are going to constantly run from where their parents, and their parents are going to constantly be 5 years behind, on social media.
Yep. You never hang out on the same platform as your parents. That's not cool. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
I've never thought about that. Kids are running from their parents.
Yeah, dude.
Social media platforms.
Yeah, that's how it works. All right, so Athletes Arena on Instagram, Facebook, athletesarena.com. Is that what we're talking about?
Yep. And then we'll push all this to the group and start dropping content. Be good to go.
And we'll be sharing all of the Athletes Arena stuff into our group as well. So everyone connected with us will be able to get a chance to jump into their community. They have different things going on, totally different values or value popping in there. So it's going to be awesome. So we're excited for that. Thank you, Jason. We appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, man.
We're going to have you back, and we're going to ask you even more jacked up questions that you're not prepared for, because we don't tell you what we're going to ask ahead of time. So, anything else for us, bud?
Nah, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. And if you have not subscribed on YouTube yet, do it there at PhnmPodcast.com. And whatever else you're listening to, whether it's on Anchor, iTunes, Google, whatever, just subscribe, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, we'll see you guys.